Hi everybody, how's it going? Today I'm going to talk about 3 essential guitar pedals, and I don't want to phrase this as like 3 essential pedals that everybody should own. This is more like if I was making a very small board for a gig and I was told that you're going to have the tiniest amount of room pretty much possible, this is what I would probably bring. I would bring 3 pedals with me, and that's all I would use. I have a Milkman the amp 50 watt. It's that white little amp pedal thing. Well, it's not little, but that's the amp I would use because it's a tube preamp. It sounds amazing, like a really good Fender Deluxe, and it's small. So I would use that as my amp, and I would go direct out with that, or I'd use a small little monitor wedge, and I would use 3 pedals on a little tiny board. That's what I would use. Sometimes I take gigs and I don't know what kind of space I'm going to have. I play theater gigs, so you are often playing in spots that are way smaller than you're probably used to if you don't play theater. So you never quite know. So I always bring a couple options with me, especially if I'm traveling out of state or something where I show up. You don't want to be like, oh, shoot, I can't go back. I don't have what I need. So I always bring some options. So what would I use? Let's go, from right to left down the chain. I would start with a Crybaby. Now, I should say, I always use a tuner. What tuner do I use? Well, I use a couple tuners, but let me grab this real quick. This is the Peterson Strobo Stomp HD. This is Peterson's pedal version of their strobe tuner. This is like one of the best tuners on the market, probably besides Sonic Research's turbo tuner. Those are my 2 picks, but this pedal's kind of big. It's an amazing pedal, but I would use Peterson's clip-on strobe tuner if I had a very small space, okay? That's what I would use to eliminate a pedal. Then I would go with a wah, because I use wah all the time. Now, of course, you can overuse any of these effects, but I always use wah. I can for many different things. It can really liven up a solo if you're playing something with some overdrive. You can turn the wah on and get a cool sound that way, or you can use a cocked wah kind of effect. You can park the wah at a certain spot to add some nasal frequencies to your solo. It's great for, of course, funk playing and all sorts of things. But wah doesn't always have to be for funk or that kind of porno shaft groove kind of thing. Wah can be used very lightly. You can really be very slow on the sweep with your wah to kind of give a sort of spatial effect to some clean tones. So I recommend get a wah if you don't have one, or if you do, try using it and try practicing with your wah by making it as subtle as you can. I know that's kind of an oxymoron because wah is really like an extreme between 2 frequencies, right? Which is really what it is. But try using it and try to make it sound subtle. Try to be really slow with your foot. That's what I use wah for a lot. Again, you can overuse it, but I just use it so frequently that I need it on my board. So I take a wah. This is the Dunlop Crybaby Wah Junior. I got this because it's very small. It's not as small as it's not as big as a standard size, so it's gonna fit. There's also the mini version, but frankly, that's just too small for me. So this one works. This one in particular has 3 voicing switches on it for different frequency ranges. I prefer the middle one, which is just a standard frequency range, but yeah. And then the next would be some sort of overdrive pedal. And I'm going with mini pedals here, of course, because they're so small and compact. This is a NuX Horseman. This is a Klon clone. An absolutely wonderful pedal. NuX, I've sang their praises. They are one of those Chinese companies like Mooer was, where they're just this stuff is smoking. Their stuff is great. They do mostly clones, but they do them so well, and the build quality on these things is as good as you will find from any. Walk into a guitar store, you're going to be Boss, MXR, Dunlop, whatever. The quality of this is just as good as those. It is, and it's cheaper. This is like 55, 60 bucks. You could swap this out for a tube screamer. This is a little more transparent, which is why I chose it, and I've used it on gigs. The Klon vibe, the Klon clones, they're not transparent to me. There's still a mid boost with this, but this still is great. If I want that sound. This is a Mooer Green Mile, another wonderful tube screamer clone. I mean, as good as the original, if not better, and it's got the warm and the hot switch. If you want that extra bass boost, to add in some of that, you got it. So yeah, overdrive, just, because you got to kick it in sometimes. And then the last thing, I think a lot of people would probably go for a delay. I would go for a chorus. Your mileage may vary, but I personally, I love chorus. It's my favorite modulation effect. I use it all the time. I don't actually use chorus often with overdriven effects, but when I'm doing clean, sometimes it's nice to add in some chorus. Now, this is the Mooer Ensemble King. Again, another amazing pedal. I don't know if Mooer makes these mini pedals anymore. I think they've moved on from that, which is unfortunate because they were wonderful. And I think that's why I moved over to NuX, because they're kind of still doing that thing really well. Better than Mooer did, I think. But CE2 clone, it sounds great. Again, you don't have to go crazy with chorus. You can turn the level and the rate and the depth back, and you can just add a slight character. If you're playing a ballad and some clean tones, it really can add a lot. Or you can kind of crank it and get slight into CE1 territory with this kind of thing. The CE1 is my favorite chorus. It's what I really like. So I'm looking for a CE1 clone. I always say, if anyone's got an idea, let me know. Behringer's supposed to be making a CE1 clone, but they've been saying that for a long time. We'll see. But yeah, that's what I would use. Overdrive, I might actually swap out for the Blues Blaster, which is an amazing pedal made by Blammo Electronics. It's a blues breaker clone, if you couldn't tell by the way it looks. This one also has a mod switch, so I can get into high gain Marshall territory. But this is a little bit too big. We're going with MIDI pedals. I would go for a Mooer Blues Crab, which is a great blues breaker clone, although it might be a little light on the overdrive for what you need, which is why I kind of just went with the Klon, because you get some great overdrive tones. So that's my little mini pedal board that I would use in a small gig. I think that would be a great starting point, and I've used this exact setup for a few gigs, and it worked really well. Yeah, I missed not having a delay or a tremolo. Actually, that's a lie. I have a tremolo on my amp, but it works really well, and sometimes it's all you need. And especially when you pare down, you kind of get a little more creative with what you have. So I hope that was helpful to you. If you ever use really tiny, like little fly boards or whatever, let me know what you use. If you have a separate thing, I think it's cool to have, your regular pedal board and your little, I like to call it my oh shit board, because I'm never going to want to gig with this small little setup, but sometimes you have those moments where you walk into the gig and you go, oh shit, that's all I get? That's the room? So you got to pare it down. So yeah, let me know. I love hearing from you folks. Have a great day. Peace out and play on, man.